It's like, okay, the thing is, Roman Reigns is over.
Yeah.
He's over. He sells merchandise. Now, that's always going to be an argument. He sells merch. He's over. Anybody you put in that position will sell the most merchandise eventually.
Yeah.
That'll happen. Roman Reigns is a really good wrestler. He's a really good performer. I think he can be a really good promo. I think he works tags well, six-man tags well, singles matches well, hardcore matches well. He does any number of things very, very, very well. I would have loved to have had him around in like 05 when they were pushing these guys his size. He would have been a treasure to have. He's a treasure to have now. But here's the thing. Even though Roman Reigns is over, Vince McMahon in particular, wants him to get cheered. Not a little bit, not 60, 70, 75%, not 80%. He wants 100% cheers out of Roman Reigns. It is the same formula as John Cena. Mm-hmm. John Cena never made that turn. And they sacrificed a lot of sense, and they sacrificed a lot of characters at the expense of trying to get John Cena cheered and make him seem like a guy that you would want to cheer. The irony is, they did it with Hulk Hogan too, and the irony is, Hulk Hogan for years wrestled like the biggest dickhead on the planet. He would choke people with his shirt and hit them with belts and rake their backs and their eyes and would pull people over the top rope to eliminate them from Royal Rumbles when he was already out. The thing is, the one thing they haven't tried is just have Roman Reigns be the scumbag.
Yep.
It worked for a lot of people. Maybe it will work for Roman Reigns. We don't know because they haven't done it. Mm-hmm. But this doesn't make sense. It does not make sense.
This is the thing. Like last week, when the three got like Braun, it's his right to cash in that Money in the Bank briefcase. Yes, he did it after Roman had a long match versus Finn Balor. But we always knew at that point Braun was coming down. He said he was going to come down and can challenge whoever won. We all knew ahead of time that was going to happen. He came down. It's his right to do it. But Roman can't face that. So he calls in his two buddies, and they triple team him. And so this is a response to that. What I thought was very interesting about the finish of the match tonight was that Drew and Dolph were not in on this at all. Like Drew was like really uneasy, and Dolph looked like he was straight up shitting his pants. Like he had no idea what was going on. That means that Braun is his own agent here, and that's what we need. He needs to be the guy in charge.
Yes.
But again,
he can be using these guys.
Yes, that's the thing that I think saves this whole deal and allows him to still be a tweener that we can still love. Is if he's like, I'm using you to get Dean and Seth away from this thing so I can focus on Roman because I know one-on-one I can beat him. That's all we need. And I even love the idea of like after I become champ, one of you guys gets the first title shot. I think that's a great way of even being honorable about it. Honor among thieves or whatever. I think that's fine. And then have him turn on him later, or have Drew and Dolph turn on him after he becomes champ. There's a lot of cool things you can do with this. They're not going to do any of it. Because, as you said, they're going to make Braun as heelish as possible to get over Roman and make him cheered as the babyface, which is just a giant waste of all the momentum that they've built for
any
Strowman.
Number of these guys.
Any number of these guys, but for Braun Strowman in particular, over the past year plus, that this guy got more over and more cheered on his own, like allowed, like the stuff that he like get these hands. That's his own damn catchphrase. Like he's gotten over as just being this biggin who smashes stuff, and just to piss it away to make Roman your hero, it just doesn't make sense. And they've already promoted this. There's the 6-man tag we all think is going to be fire next week opposite Monday Night Football. Now they're going to save that. It's going to be at the Super Showdown in October after the Hell in a Cell match, which means Braun might be, maybe, probably not, champ by then. So at this, you're booking that match way ahead of time, which to me signals very obviously that Roman is still going to be champ for that match, because you want him to have the belt when he walks in among the Shield for the. It's just ridiculous. This whole thing is just.
I think it's a disservice to almost everybody involved, except maybe Dolph Ziggler, except maybe him.
Yeah. Yes.
Because he is involved in something more important. Seth Rollins is white hot doing what he's doing. Dean Ambrose, it's hard to say because he just came back. Roman Reigns, they can do so much better for him creatively.
You really can.
And I mean, that's virtually been the case for everything outside of maybe a 6-month run that led up to the Undertaker match and that followed it, because I thought that his promos around then and following and then the Braun stuff, that was really, really good stuff. There was a lot of reading the room in that situation, and Braun became a giant. They made a giant baby face out of that, even though they didn't mean to. And that's the thing. That was an accident. Drew, my fear, now I don't know if it'll happen, I hope he's not one of the guys eating the pins in one of these inevitable 6-mans.
Dolph should eat every pin.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to do anything with him afterwards. He's just going to go back to being mid-card Dolph, if anything. You should be grooming Drew to be a major foil for Roman at some point, because if you accept that Roman's going to be the guy and the top babyface, Drew is a great foil to have opposite Roman.
So here's the situation. If it isn't Braun using these two and it's a real alliance, it probably should have been Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper.
God, what a great thing that might have been.
What a way to heat Bray Wyatt back up that would have been. Or it could have been Authors of Pain, who desperately needs something, and it would just make sense for a sirloin sons of bitches team.
The problem is that the Authors of Pain, as presently constituted, as how they have been used over the past few months, if they showed up in the main event segment with Braun, like, who are these guys? I only watched the Hulu Raw, so I've never seen them before. You know what I mean? Like,
let's move on and talk about Braun Strowman.
Yeah, let's.
So let me get this right, Sean. I look at social media, I see some of the arguments you have with people, because you fight with everybody. So I see some of the arguments you have with people. Is it true that there are wrestling fans that believe that Braun Strowman, prior to Monday, was not booked as a babyface?
Well, the thing is, I sort of agree.
What?
I agree that his behavior was heelish. However, Vince McMahon in particular thinks that it's a baby. He was booking Braun as a babyface.
Nicholas.
Okay, Nicholas, with the exception of that, it's like, he's going to beat the shit out of this fat guy every week. They'll love it. That's what Vince thinks.
No, but I'm not talking about Raw. I'm talking about prior to Monday.
Oh, sure. No,
prior to Monday.
I meant like his Kevin Owens stuff and a lot of that.
Yeah.
Braun, quite frankly, is a giant dickhead. However, within the WWE scope of things, that's how they view a lot of their baby faces.
Sure.
So all intent. And I mean, my God, Jimmy. I mean, there are people who argue with me about this. I mean, I almost had to defer to Alex. I was like, Alex, for the love of God, you know who I talk to on a weekly, daily basis. These people tell me this is the intent for Braun Strowman. This is the intent for Roman Reigns. These people are frustrated with it.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe that a Braun Strowman and a Roman Reigns would be more creatively satisfied with creatively satisfying programming, then you're wrong. However, I do see that some people prefer The Big Bang Theory to Breaking Bad, so maybe I'm not the audience they're looking at.
Yeah, those people are foolish. Breaking Bad is the greatest show in the history of television.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
But, okay, so there's 2 points I want to make about Braun's turn on Monday, because, again, I know that a lot of the internet was appalled that Braun Strowman turned on Monday. I want to look at this from 2 perspectives. One is from a fan/business perspective, and one is from a storyline perspective. From a fan/business perspective, I want to wait until Raw next Monday. And actually, from a storyline perspective as well, for both. I want to wait till Raw next Monday to hear the explanation. Because going into Raw, it was known Braun doesn't like Roman Reigns. They have a long history together. Roman Reigns doesn't like him either. And it was known that when he tried to cash in last week, Roman had Rollins and Ambrose watching his back. And it was known that Braun was going to hold off until Hell in a Cell because he knows that Roman has Rollins and Ambrose watching his back. From a storyline perspective, it makes perfect sense what he did, because from a storyline perspective, you want backup, because even though you're going to be in a cage, that doesn't mean that Ambrose and Rollins can't still screw with you, right, prior to the match. And so from a storyline perspective, it makes sense. From a fan/business perspective, if they go full on with a heel turn, and again, I want to wait until Monday to hear the explanation, but if they go full on with a heel turn, to me, that is once again illustrating that the company doesn't listen to its fans, as we said many times before. It's once again them showing that they're tone deaf, taking a guy who was possibly the most over on the roster and feeding him to Roman Reigns. We've talked before about how Roman, in many ways, is kind of booked like John Cena used to be. Because for the first several years of John Cena's existence, he got the same reactions that Roman is getting now, because the fans knew that he was the chosen one, just as they know that Roman Reigns is the chosen one. And so WWE fed everybody to John Cena. And jokingly, John Cena used to be called Superman, to the point that Cena himself would even mention it in promos sometimes.
Yes.
Because he knew everybody referred to him as Superman because he always overcame the odds. You remember going into Survivor Series when he had The Rock as his tag team partner, and everybody was wondering, why do you have The Rock when you've been killing Miz and R-Truth by yourself? Right? You don't even need a tag team partner. That's where they're going now with Roman Reigns. You think that they're doing all of this because Vince McMahon is adamant, we got to get a positive reaction for Roman. We got to get the fans cheering for Roman. We got to do whatever we got to do to get the fans to cheer for Roman. My answer to that is what I've said to you many times, Sean. Part of it is Pavlovian at this point, in my opinion. Part of it is not that the fans don't like Roman Reigns. It's that they have been trained that when they hear that music, they boo. They've been trained. And that's why when you watch a Roman Reigns segment, Sean, and you watch a Roman Reigns match, when his music hits to start the segment, he gets booed like hell. But once he's in the ring, he doesn't get booed like hell for the entire segment because, again, the fans have been trained. When we hear the music, we boo him, but then we kind of like him. And that's kind of how it is.
Yeah, the thing is that some of the aspects of the push are insulting to my intelligence. When I see him wrestle, that's not. He's a fantastic wrestler. I think he's a great performer. It's just, I see and that's another thing. I've had people in my mentions all week saying, WWE doesn't care if he gets cheered or booed. Yeah, they do.
I think they do.
Oh, yeah, they do. Vince McMahon wants 100% unanimous cheers for this guy. He wanted that for John Cena for a long time, too.
Yes.
John Cena took it upon himself to start adding into promos, like referring to it.
And then when they would do, John Cena sucks, Cena would go like this because he accepted it, he embraced it. I don't think Roman has an issue with it either.
No, he doesn't care.
No.
Roman doesn't give a shit.
No.
But the thing is, Vince does.
Yes, I agree.
And the way that Vince looks at things, or at least the way that I've been told, is that they can get another John Cena out of Roman Reigns and they've hit a grand slam. If they can get a guy who eventually stars in Daddy's Home 2, done well. But here's the issue that I have with that. You had that for a decade before with Cena. You had about a decade off, but even in that period, it was on and off between a babyface and a heel territory, and you had a lot of interesting characters emerge in that 10 years between Hogan and Cena, because Hogan got a lot of that too.
Mm-hmm. You did.
And in that 10-year window, you had a lot of people step up.
And they fed them to John Cena.
And eventually they did.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you also had The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. They would get polarizing reactions. They went back and forth between heel and face sometimes. The Undertaker would ride the wave. I think you got to ride the wave. And hopefully with the amount of money they're getting, they do ride the wave. And they decide to book it in a more fan-friendly direction than what they are doing now. Then it's force at all costs, get Roman Reigns cheered. And he doesn't need that. He can be one of the greatest in the company's history without possibly cooling off 5 guys. I think Ziggler's the only one that really benefits from this.
Yeah.
Because McIntyre isn't getting pinned. He's not getting beaten. Seth Rollins is white hot. Dean Ambrose just came back, so you don't know what you have with him. Reigns is fresh off of a Lesnar win.
I think a lot of it is just arrogance and ignorance, because when you look back to the Rock Stone Cold days, WCW was kicking WWE's ass at that time, and WWE is grasping at straws. What can we do to get guys over? Or what can we do? And then I think they were more open to listening to the crowd, which is why when Austin cut that promo and they saw Austin 316 shirts in the crowd, they rolled with it. They created the T-shirt. Then they heard cheers for him, so they thought we're going to have to kind of turn him babyface. Like, they actually listened to the crowd back then. Now they don't have any real competition, and so now I think that's when Vince McMahon thinks, well, I'm going to put over who I want to put over.